Okay, getting started into this Word Capstone project. First off, I want to take a look at the toolbars, ribbons, before we actually get started in the project. There are some things I want to point out to you that you may not have realized before as you were using your applications. Up here at the top of your screen is your toolbar or your ribbon, depending on what generation of Office you're using. They kind of change the terms back and forth. But the main options up here, home, insert, draw, etc., is dynamic, which means it can change depending on what you have selected within your document. And we're going to experience that in just a minute. Within each of these tabs or ribbons up here, you'll notice that there are groups of buttons. Lots of folks don't realize that these things are organized in groups. Like here's the font group. So all of these buttons are dealing with formatting options for fonts only. Right next to it is the paragraph group. And so all of these buttons are dealing with paragraphs. And you'll see that each and every one of these tabs or ribbons has groups: page setup, arrange, insert tables, illustrations, and so on. So the designers of this application use these tabs or ribbons as well as these group names to help you figure out where a button might be based on what it is that you need to do. So this might help you find the buttons that you're looking for. Something else to keep in mind is that just about everything has a name. So if I'm looking for a particular button like this one right here, if I hover over it and I didn't click, I just hovered, you can see the name pops up. It's called Text Effects and Typography. So if the instructions are telling you to change text effects, then this is the button that you're looking for. Remember, you can always open your textbook and try and find what it is that you're looking for. But remember that all of these buttons have names. Okay, so this is shading, paragraph, show hide. I've increased the size of my mouse pointer for this demo, so it's hiding some of the descriptions here. Okay, and even down to the colors. When I hover over a color, it has a very specific name. This purple right here is purple accent 1, lighter 40%. This one's lighter 60%. This purple over here is dark purple accent 2. So everything has a name. Again, be patient, hover, and that might help you find what it is you're looking for. So let's get started with taking a look at our capstone project. Okay, here we go. So I have my instruction sheet on one side and I have my working document on the other side. Now this isn't exactly the file that you're going to be working on, so yours will look a little bit different, but the instructions run parallel. So it is a great way for me to demonstrate some of the things that you're going to encounter and that I have seen students get confused with before. Okay, so remember at the top, it's walking you through the files that you're going to need in order to complete the assignment and what your finished file should be named when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. Now I came in here earlier and I highlighted a couple of steps so that I could quickly demonstrate the snags and confusions that I often see. So as an information security associate, you're completing a report for employees on page 1. Rotate the picture to the left by 90% so it has the correct orientation. So remember when I was saying before that these tabs or ribbons up here are dynamic? They change depending on what is being selected in the document. So I need to change this graphic here at the top. So it took me 2 clicks to actually select the image here. The first time I clicked it, you might have noticed that it activated this table. The second time I clicked it, it actually activated the image. I'm going to click away. All right, click again. So now you can see that the image is selected. We've got the sizing handles activated and this little rotation button right here. But also, when I selected the image, I did get this additional tab at the top, picture format. And since there is also a table activated here, So this little handle right here is telling me there's a table involved. I also have a table tab up here at the top as well. So that's what we mean by dynamic ribbons or tabs at the top. When I deselect the image, this picture format tab will go away. And now all I have is the table design and table layout. But selecting the image again brings it back. So if you're ever looking for a tool, a button, a setting that you need to change and you just can't find it, make sure that you've selected the object that you're supposed to be changing. And this can be a shape that you've inserted, it can be a image, a picture, or table, so on. All right. So it wants me to rotate it by 90%. And there are a couple of different ways you can do that. So let's see here. Let me expand this a little more. All right. So I'm going to grab the sizing handle and rotate it around by 90%. Okay. Now there are also, buttons to flip. There's a button here. Rotate right, rotate left, flip, and flip horizontal. So you could also use these buttons to do the same thing. Okay. Okay, now on to one of the green highlighted steps to show you. If you remember from my previous video, I mentioned that you can't really skip steps and hop around and do the things that you feel like you know. You really do need to do all of the steps in order. And here is an example of one of those steps that you cannot skip, okay? So step number 2 here says to change the theme colors of the document to median. I think in your assignment, the style is paper, but this different theme actually comes with its own color palette. So let's take a look at the working document. And I'm going to go to home, and it wants me to change the theme colors. But before I do that, I'm going to click this color palette here just so that you can take a look at it. Right now, this looks like it's the standard Microsoft Office color palette that we're working with, okay? Remember, everything has a name. As I mentioned before, you hover over something and you'll get, orange accent 2, darker 25%. You'll get all of these things, okay? So in order to change the theme color that's going to affect everything else that we're going to do, I am going to need to change in design. And again, textbook, open your textbook. I have themes here, all right? But when you click the theme and look at the theme, please remember that changing a theme affects your fonts as well as your color palette. So if the instruction says, like it does, theme colors, we're only looking at changing the color palette, not the theme in general, okay? So I'm going to come over here to this color dropdown, and you can see that it gives me some previews of all of my different color palettes. So it wants me to look at median. So I'm going to remember everything has a name. So I'm going to look for the median color palette right here. And so now I'm going to go back to that home tab and I'm going to expand this color palette again. You see it is completely different. So later on, when I'm inserting an image and it tells me to change it to a specific color, if I had skipped this step, this color would not be here. Okay, so let me go down and show you what I mean by that. So here, step number 6, it says on page 3, I'm going to add visual interest to the use complex passwords section. So I'm going to scroll down page 2, page 3. All right. And I have not done everything I'm supposed to do, so let me find, there we go. Here is the section it wants me to be in. So remember when I said you can't skip steps? This is another reason why. So this is the section that I'm supposed to be working in. All right, to add visual interest to the use complex passwords section as follows. To the left of the using secure passwords, I'm going to insert an arrow pentagon shape from the block arrows section. All right, to the left of the using passwords paragraph. All right, so this looks like the paragraph that it's talking about. Okay, so it wants me to insert this shape to the left of it. So I just clicked at the very beginning. I'm going to go to Insert, Shapes, and it told me that it is in the block arrows, and it wants me to use the pentagon. So I'm going to hover again, arrow left, notched, arrow pentagon. Sorry that my mouse pointer is covering it just a little bit, but if you're working with me, or you can pause my video and do this on your screen so you can see arrow pentagon. All right, so I'm going to drop it in right here. I'm not terribly concerned about the size right now because I've definitely got more steps to do here. Okay, so the arrow pentagon is there. Resize the shape to 0.5 high and 0.7 wide. All right, so remember those dynamic tabs that I mentioned. Here's the shape tab, making sure that it's activated. Right, here's my size button. So 0.5 height, 0.5, and width was 0.7, size 0.7. All right, so it's very small. All right, apply the subtle effect green accent shape style. Okay, now I'm in this green right here. Right, so this is an example of a couple of different things. So remember when I talked about those button group names, notice I have shape styles right here, so that's exactly what I need to be looking for. I'm looking for subtle effect green accent. So I'm going to click the gallery drop down here. All right, I've got theme styles. All right, I'm looking for subtle effect green. All right, so here's green. And here's olive, so I know that I need to be in this particular column here just because it's green. I'm looking for subtle effect. So colored outline, colored fill, light outline, moderate effect, subtle effect. Okay, see under there it does say subtle effect green accent 5. That's the exact name I'm looking for. Clicking that. I'm going to type 1 into the shape. So it's already selected here. I'm just going to type 1. Change the font size of the shape text to 20. So I need to select the font, change it to 20. Apply square text wrapping to the shape. All right, so this little button right here. Yeah. So this gives me text wrapping. It wants square. So here is basic square. Here is tight. So here is the one I want, square. Notice that it moved my text over a little bit. Move the anchor point of the shape to the beginning of the paragraph. Okay, so we can actually move an anchor point as well. Okay, and if we want to look at what it's supposed to look like when we're finished, remember we have this preview at the very end to see what this is all supposed to look like. So this is what it's supposed to look like when I'm finished. And so I can definitely guarantee that I have this in the right place and that it looks like it is going to have this weird trailing sentence underneath it. So that's going to be fine. So when I click and move this guy, and I'm lining it up according to where that is, but it does say to change the anchor point, so that's going to make a difference. Okay, but it does pretty much look like what I'm supposed to have here at the end. So I do recommend that you go ahead and get started on a project, especially a bigger one like this, early in the week. You know, highlight as far as you got so that you know exactly where to pick up. Make sure you save everything, obviously, and come back to it anytime you want. And remember, it can be extremely helpful to come down here at the end of the instruction sheet and look at the final document, especially if you're kind of confused as to where it is telling you to insert an object or if you've got it sized or aligned correctly. This can be very, very helpful to you for that. But again, don't come down here and just try to duplicate what you see here, okay?